Welcome to All Grown Up Now, Tales of a Checkered Past. I'm Kenneth D. King, podcasting from my studio near Union Square in New York City. This podcast is an evolution of the tale, All Grown Up Now, A Friendship in 3 Acts. This is Season 2, and it's called Tales of a Checkered Past. It's a collection of short stories from my salad days on up to the present. In each podcast, another self-contained story will be presented. These podcasts will be broadcast bi-weekly, so you get 2 a month. Enjoy. This episode of Tales of a Checkered Past is called Boy's Shorts. It's 2 short stories by this particular boy. Enjoy. The first short story is called Adjectives Are Very Important. I once broke up with a guy just because of his use of adjectives. When teaching at FIT, my first class includes a rant about how awesome isn't the only adjective. I cite the film reference from The Devil Wears Prada, where Miranda says, "It's not turquoise, it's not lapis, actually it's cerulean," to make the point that, in fashion specifically, fine distinctions between things are so important. Articulating those distinctions is even more so. It follows that in my personal life, adjectives would rank high in priority as well. So, for a brief period, I dated this guy who proved the canard about crazy in the head, crazy in the bed. Out of bed, he was somewhat clueless. For example, he would refer to my couture clothing as "that shit you do," or a fab outfit as "that jacket thing you're wearing." But for a time, I overlooked it because he was good in bed. As he said, crazy in the head, crazy in the bed. However, one day we met for Sunday brunch. I was wearing a new pair of 7 jeans. They maximized my assets and minimized my liabilities, and I was most pleased with how I looked in them. He gave me a good look over. Then he said, "Hey, they really show your cute little basket." Cute. Little. Adjectives that should never be used by a gay man in a sentence next to the word basket unless it's Easter. I broke up with him right there. Adjectives are so very important. The next story is called My Only Walk of Shame. If you listen to the podcast or the audiobook, I did a little iteration of this there, but I decided to pull it out and use it as its own story because I think it's rather amusing. So, My Only Walk of Shame. In my time, I've done only one very long walk of shame. When I hear my women friends talk about the walk of shame, I chuckle to myself. For those of you who are always perfectly well-behaved, morally upright, and never violate the golden rule, never wear evening clothes in the daylight, you may not be familiar with this term. It denotes the act of arriving back home or at work wearing the same clothes you went out partying in the night before. This usually implies some sort of public drunkenness, an assignation, bad behavior, lack of washing, traces of old makeup, or spilled alcohol on the clothes. Whatever the particular circumstances, there is the air of embarrassment surrounding it. It's as if one thinks everyone knows just exactly what you've gotten up to and are giving you the gimlet eye as you pass by. In my day, there were many times I'd arrived home wearing evening clothes and faded makeup in the daylight, but I have never been ashamed to do so. being a self-professed slut has its advantages. But I did do this one very long walk of shame when I was in my early 20s, and this is the story. When I lived in Oklahoma City in my 20s, I briefly dated a guy named Arnie. He was a nice Jewish boy, a little older than me, nice enough looking, who I met one evening at the only experimental theater event that ever happened in Oklahoma City. He chatted me up after the event, we went out for breakfast, and ended up back at his place. It was not terribly exciting, what I call meat and potatoes sex. It was nourishing but predictable, not at all inventive. But Arnie was a nice guy, and I was taking a break from bad boys during that time, having just finished dating a string of mortuary workers. Not intentionally. The last guy I dated actually lived at the mortuary. He was the one the hospital would call at night to come pick up the body. The night I went over to his place, which was our last date, he walked me from the front door of the mortuary through the entire place in the dark, and we ended up at his apartment off the garage where the hearses were parked. There was a coffin parked on a gurney next to his front door. As we passed, he knocked on the lid and shouted, "Good night, Mr. Smith." Is that thing occupied?" I asked. "Yeah, we're having a service the first thing in the morning, so we just parked him here." "Okay," I said. He opened the apartment door. We went in and to the bedroom. Now, the only thing I remember about that apartment were the two rose-colored torchère lamps, one on either side of his bed. You know, the kind of lamps you see at the head and the foot of the casket when you're at a viewing. I learned two things on that last date. One, I simply cannot get it up if there is a dead body parked outside the door. And the second one was, if someone tells you to take a cold bath and lie very still, you just put on your clothes and you go home. That was our last date. So back to Arnie. We went out a few times, and we always ended up back at his place for a romp or two. All in all, it was very typical. No surprises. Nice guy, kind of boring. During this time, I was also working about 100 hours a week at a department store in window display, preparing for the grand opening. How I found time to have any social life at all is a miracle, so I was short of sleep most of the time. It happened one Sunday afternoon, a couple weeks after Yom Kippur. Arnie asked me over to his house for brunch, and whatever. Whatever meant that we ended up in his bedroom. Bright sunlight, Sunday afternoon, in his bed, getting up to some mischief. Or as much mischief as Arnie could muster. As I said, he wasn't very exciting. And then it happened. All I remember is lying on my back on his bed with Arnie blowing me in the bright sunlight. And then waking up, still bright sunlight, and Arnie was nowhere to be seen. Uh-oh. I had fallen asleep during a blowjob on the receiving end. A first. As I said, he wasn't terribly exciting. And now I was lying there in his bed, and he wasn't. Crap. Dreading the next few minutes, I put on my clothes and went out of the room to search for him. He wasn't anywhere in his house. Sadly, I found him out in the front yard, washing out his room humidifier with the garden hose. Did I mention he wasn't terribly exciting? The distance from his front door to my car looked vast, somewhat like the Grand Canyon. If looks could kill, Arnie would have killed the entire neighborhood. As he glared at me, I did the best abject apology I could muster while walking quickly towards my car. I tried to plead fatigue for all of the overwork, but the damage had been done, and that was my one very long walk of shame. Thanks for listening. You can get the audiobook All Grown Up Now on iTunes, Audible, and Amazon, or from my website, allgrownupnow.com. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. If you have any questions, you can reach me through the website, allgrownupnow.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Kenneth D. King, on Facebook at Kenneth D. King Design, or on my main website, kennethdking.com.